Welcome, everyone, to another session of Bayyinah and Friends. This is Franz Court Jr., author, publisher with Thoroughbred Books. Today is September 3rd, 2020, the year of clear vision. And we have another great program scheduled for you today. We have a special guest who's already online and waiting to share some of his journey with us. And I believe we have just been joined by our host, Professor Bayyinah Bello. How you doing, Professor?
I'm doing fine, thank you very much. I hope everyone else is doing very well too. Greetings, Hotep, Jumbo, Alafia to all. Thank you very much for joining us. I apologize for my lateness. For some reason, I have two computers and couldn't get into Zoom. So thanks to Kwesi, I'm in. Thank you to everyone. Welcome to Bayyinah and Friends. Welcome to a spot where we learn from each other, where we learn from sharing each other's journeys. We learn how to improve our own journey. We learn how to get back to our own mentality, which is a mentality of community, of doing things together, of doing things to improve ourselves and improve each other. And a community is a space where we have a common objective. Remember our text that we read every week, that we will read again. If we are to become free, there are three elements that we cannot play with. Number one is identity. Number two is purpose. And when we say purpose, we mean a collective purpose. We don't just mean, I gotta get a blue dress tomorrow. That's not purpose. And number three, we have to have direction. What are the rules that are established so we get there in the best way, the most efficient way, with the least collateral lost, and get to victory? So without further ado, Franz will show us our text, and Brother Piankhi and I will read it. We each will take a paragraph. Freedom. Our first mistake was that we thought of freedom as a place rather than a continuation of a struggle.
Tyranny never sleeps.
Our second mistake was that we thought of freedom as a goal rather than as a launching pad from which to reach our goals.
Without purposes, freedom hardly matters.
Our third mistake was that we thought that freedom would make us free. That, however, is license, not freedom at all.
Freedom is being shackled to identity, purpose, and direction, and being in constant pursuit.
Thank you. And of course, as you know, this poem was written over 4,500 years ago by Amunhotep, Ethiopian philosopher. So even though it's only one text, but can you imagine a society where if one person wrote this, that others did not write text as important? So obviously, a lot of what we have as a knowledge of what Africa was about, what was going on in Africa prior to colonization and slavery, plenty of stuff hidden. We have to search. When you search, you always find. So welcome, Brother Piankhi. And
welcome, Mama Bayyinah. Welcome. Thank you for welcoming me into your space. It's much appreciated.
Actually, it's just our space. So
Yes,
it's
I knew you were
your
going to say
space.
that.
You at home with Duhu. All right. So what does that poem means to you? What do you get out of it?
Well, like anything else, goals like freedom, or even if you want to take the word perfection, are never destinations. Because you talked about text and Kemet. Ptah-hotep wrote a book, and that's considered the oldest book in the world. And similar to freedom, he says the limits of perfection are never reached. So freedom is never reached. It's something you have to work on continually. You have to be able to pick out positive influences to pursue your freedom from unexpected places. And I'll go back to Ptah-hotep again, where he said again, wisdom could be found among the maidens grinding stones. And so basically, you can't be elitist in pursuit of freedom. You can't just hold freedom to your small group. You have to have that pursuit for the community at large. And that's something I think in this modern era, and I'd say post 1968, too many people have pursued freedom for a limited, among our group, for a limited group of people.
Yes. Now,
which isn't freedom, it's slavery. So
thank you. Thank you. And of course, being an engineer, you are someone who is about analyzing, creating, pulling things apart, putting them back together.
mm-hmm.
Now, how do you see freedom in the mechanics, let's say?
Oh boy, that's a tough question. The mechanics of freedom is one is a vision. So the vision may start with the individual. The individual has to sell that vision to others, right? And then the community as a whole will have this back and forth in regard to that vision. It can start with a small group of people, but then it'll be an agreed upon vision. Once the vision is decided, then you get into the tough part of planning. So you have to plan, but you can't plan forever. There's a saying, analysis, paralysis by analysis. And so if you analyze too much, you can't move. And so you have to be able to start implementing your plans and not be afraid to make mistakes. And I'm going to tell this from a personal lesson. I'm training to be in a Kumfo. My cousin is a top of Kumfo in DC, and he corrected me this week that part of faith is not being afraid to make mistakes because the ancestors will catch you. Right. So part of being an engineer is being a perfectionist, and sometimes that's a limitation on my part because you're afraid to make mistakes. Because when you're in engineering, you make a mistake, people die. Right. However, you have to have the faith that the ancestors will catch you. And that's one of the biggest things. So freedom is planning and then implementing and learning from the lessons of implementation. I was about to say mistakes, but I'm not going to say mistakes because there are going to be positive lessons. There will be lessons where you can improve. So you have to be able to learn from those lessons. Part of freedom is choosing the correct leadership. So leadership has to be confident and humble at the same time. Confident enough to pursue your vision in the wake of critics, humble enough to take critique, honest critique from those who sincerely care about you and your mission. So that's the other mechanism of it.
Absolutely.
And we said, go ahead.
And as you say that, I say, you can, if the mission is what is your interest, then how you feel about the messenger or the leader or any other person within that mission should not take over. Because the mission, once you have the mission, we have a mission to accomplish something together.
Yes.
So whether I like your face or don't like your face, or you like, this woman is too old, or she's too young, or she's too skinny, those are not things that should come into consideration when we have a mission.
Definitely. I definitely agree with that. The thing that should come into consideration is production and the ability to self-reflect. So if you have a leader that produces, but he or she runs over a whole bunch of people and damages souls in the process, then you have to say, wait a minute, your process isn't correct. You have the ability to self-correct how you're going about doing things, right? Production, if you have somebody who talks all the time and they can't produce, then that's not real leader, they're a talker, they're actor. So from my study of traditional African societies, production is the most important thing, whether you produce. In terms of the stated mission. And I think in this era, we've gotten a little bit too charmed by talkers, to be honest with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why we have to focus on the mission. We have to focus that when we talk, the talk is necessary to take us the next step. And not just talk for talking. And there's a lot of that, and that makes it very difficult for those of us who do want to speak in a way to help others advance their, reach their objectives.
Yes.
Thank you very much. We have, one more time, we've shared freedom, and we do hope that many of you have gained more from the last time. As you know, we deal with freedom as number one step in our program because that is the thing that is most lacking in our lives today. No matter where we are, no matter what we do, you might be number one chief in a country and you're not allowed to speak your middle name. So think about that. Think about what society we're living in. So we have to, and the reason these things can be done to us is because we have not developed the proper understanding and the proper attitude towards freedom. Good. Let's do something practical. Let's do some breathing. Let's sit up straight. And we're going to take 7 deep breaths together. We're going to breathe together because our body needs it. We have to wear masks. We have to do a whole bunch of things that is affecting our breathing system. So we're going to do it, first of all, for personal reasons, individual reasons. We're going to do it because it's a way of calming the body when we bring more oxygen into the body. So it helps us to digest information better. We're going to do it because our ancestors are all around us, in us, within us, and we want them to give them the fuel they need to inspire our actions. And we're going to breathe together so we can build our collectiveness, our communalness. So we're going to do those 7 deep breaths together. Let's go. Take in, hold, let out, let it out. At the same pace you take it in, let it out the same pace. And we continue. Number 2, take in, hold, let it out, let it out, let it out. Relax. Take in, hold, Let it out. Let it out. Let it out. Relax. Take in, in, in. Hold. Let it out. Relax. Take it in. Hold. Let it out. Relax. Take it in. Hold. Let it out. Relax. And as we take the last one, we join in the entire cosmos. Remember, it is us. We are it. Take in. Hold. Let it out. Thank you very much. As we say, and we've said many times, it's an important part of our lives. It's the vital part of our life, breathing. And yes, nature has it so that it can be done without us thinking about it. But when we take the time to consciously breathe, then we're doing a very big work for ourselves in every possible way. Spiritually, physically, biologically, every way you turn, you're doing something important to yourself every time you give yourself a few deep, conscious breaths. Thank you very much. So, Brother Piankhi, would you let us know who you are?
Wow. Oh, geez. Oh, man. Where do I start, to be honest with you? I was born here in the States, in Chicago, way back when. My parents were from Jamaica, decided to move back to Jamaica for a year. When they moved back to Jamaica, the intent was more than that. And then they returned to the States after a year. And I always say I was their green card back into the country, basically, right? So that being said, we lived on the East Coast. We lived in Pennsylvania, and then we settled in the Detroit area, basically, after that. I went to college, pursued an engineering degree, worked at various places, eventually wound up in the auto industry where I am now. My time's running short in it, so I'm about to pursue the areas of life that I want to pursue after this, after raising my family. And then to take you back to my college career, when I went to university, we had a lot of protests on campus, a lot of due to racial harassment. I mean, I remember at one time in the dorm I was in, they sent around flyers saying it was open hunting season on Black people. They use another word for it, saying that you can find them around watermelon patches, mango trees, things of that nature. This was in the 80s, right? So that kind of kicked off a whole bunch of protests on campus where I was at the time. And during that time when we were shutting down university buildings and shutting down the campus and doing all those sort of things, I reintroduced myself to Malcolm X. When I was in high school, let me put it this way, I tried to read the autobiography of Malcolm X. I couldn't get past the first 2 chapters. I had a very limited view of him at the point because, you know, if you're coming up in the 70s, they really demonized Malcolm in the 70s. But something didn't sit well with me with people getting shot by hoses and eaten by dogs, but not fighting back. So I gravitated to Malcolm at first, read 2 chapters in high school, put it down. And then finally in college, I read Malcolm X Speaks. And that really changed my philosophy in a lot of things, because, you know, before that point, as Black people, you kind of fall into this kind of paradigm where you support one political party, even though it's not doing anything for you, and you kind of fall into this integration paradigm. And Malcolm showed me, at least, the whole concept of self-sufficiency and self-determination. And so, so that imbued my philosophy after college. And then I started reading Marcus Garvey after that. And I started getting off into African history and all these sort of things in my early 20s. I moved back to Chicago after I graduated from college. So there's a circle, right? So I moved back to Chicago after I graduated college, worked in the architectural engineering industry over there, but on the side, I would tutor at a place called Center for Inner City Studies, which was very close to where I live. And there's someone who recently became an ancestor, Conrad Worrell, who ran that center. So he was kind of my supervisor there. And it was a good experience. One, you know, it was probably my second experience really tutoring people. Two, you saw the effect of balance on our children, because, for instance, the real director, and she's an ancestor, and I can't remember her name for the life of me now. I'm sorry about that, but she said it was two of us tutoring the children, and we were men, and she says that the boys were much better behaved when men were in their presence. And I said that was interesting, because we really didn't do anything particular to discipline the boys. I mean, every once in a while I would force them to do push-ups if they were talking too much, you know, because I have a sports background. And so, not that I was any great athlete, but that was my background coming up through high school. So, you know, so I tutored there, and you were introduced to everything in Chicago. You know, Farrakhan was holding sway. You had all these speakers, Hannibal Afrique, you just name it. And you always had speeches to go to on the weekends. I dealt with Haki Mabuti for a while when I was there in Chicago. Interesting experience, should I say. I'm not going to say too much beyond that, but it was an interesting experience. So, you know, I learned quite a bit, kind of the ins and outs of the movement and the personalities and, you know, what works and what doesn't work during that time period. After that, I went to law school for a year. An engineering mind and a pursuit of law are kind of two different things. At least for me, it was, because, you know, in engineering, you write very succinctly. Law, you don't write succinctly. So I couldn't really, it was hard to translate that sort of writing. You know, it's, you know, in engineering, you know, man walks off cliff, man falls 200 feet, man splatters off ground. And, you know, it's very self-evident. Law, you have to put a whole lot of scenarios and stories behind that, basically, right? So that wasn't for me. And so after that, I got into the auto industry, came back to Detroit. They started a African-centered public school called Malcolm X Academy in Detroit. And so I tutored there. If you understand the Detroit area, the Detroit public school systems have a reputation of failing their students. Malcolm X was outperforming children in the affluent suburbs. However, there were a lot of Blacks even within the city who opposed the concept of having male academies. You know, it was fought by the NAACP legal fund. It was fought by all sorts of people, right? But they had a wonderful principal named Clifford Watson, who again is now an ancestor, and that school just shined. Hasn't performed so well since Dr. Watson died, but that was a very good experience as well too, tutoring those young men, should I say. And also I saw certain things too, like you saw the results of Ritalin on our children. You know, there's one student that was just, I would tutor him and he was just, you know, his head's kind of spaced out. And I was asking his teacher what's going on. He says, well, he was on Ritalin. And the effect of Ritalin on a young man and a young girl even, it's almost like giving somebody heroin at a young age. And granted, they're giving him Ritalin to deal with all the chaos in his home, which I don't want to get into too much, but I mean, that was that was one of the things that I observed during that time period. And then, I got married, have three wonderful children, three beautiful children who are, two are adults now. One is about to become an adult. And we started two of our children at an African-centered school in Detroit, really put them ahead of the curve in terms of their education. As part of that African-centered school, you had something called the Baba's Club, which I participated in. So it was a group of fathers that would help with projects in the school and start rites of passage programs and things of that nature. And then the director of that school started a community garden, a large community garden, an urban farm, which is called D-Town Farms, which is very successful to this day. So, did all that, and, fast forward, one of my children have graduated university, the other one's in university, and one's about to finish high school. And so I'm trying to figure out where to take my life next after here. I not figured out, I have a map, but that's how to pursue it, is where I'm going to go.
Thank you very much. I am particularly interested and was particularly touched in our conversations prior to this one, was the brother's hand-on attitude, and as far as family, as far as his children were concerned. And I think that's something that's very important for us to underline. It's important for us to be aware that, yes, there are men who are very much interested in what's going on in the family and how the children are growing up, and where they're going and which way. And so not to block out and say, oh, well, no. There are always, we need
that balance between the male and female in the household, because, going too far one way or too far the other way hasn't been good for our community.
Yes.
And as part of that too, you have tensions in marriages, because I think as a people, we're still trying to work it out. We have been dropped over here, particularly in the Western Hemisphere, without real rites of passage programs where, men aren't taught necessarily to be husbands and women aren't necessarily taught to be wives. And it provides a lot of tension, to be honest with you. But, you try to work it out and go forward in your marriages. So.
If you allow me, I will edit what you just said. I remove the necessarily.
Okay, go ahead. You can edit it.
Men are not taught to be husbands, and women are not taught to be wives.
You're very right.
See, the society does not care about family, no matter what they say. Mm-hmm. We have to just figure it out, whichever way it falls. We try to, when I think of certain societies in Africa where, sexuality is something that is taught, it's discussed, how, where, and whatnot. So no part of life is just left alone. It's, every part of life you get. Like among the Hausas, for example, when you get married, after the wedding ceremony, you go back to your parents. You spend 3 months learning how to be a wife.
Wow.
Then you go to your husband's house. And if the man is not a certain age, he too will go back to his family and learn how to be. So we do have these, structures that exist and even survive still. So we need to be aware of it. These are things parents, same thing. You got to learn how to be a parent. It doesn't come automatically. It's a learning process. And many times we realize this when we were mothers, we didn't know about it. We thought we just knew. We weren't listening to nobody. And then when we became grandmothers, that's when we understand, oh, so I didn't know. I should have learned. I made lots of mistakes. So these are the facts. We have to live with it, and we have to try to.
Mama Bayyinah, that's so interesting that you said that, because now that my children are older, I'm getting those critiques now. Daddy, this is where you messed up. Daddy, you were too rough. Daddy, you were, why did your voice have to boom so much? Why you have now I have to make some necessary adjustments as my children are older. you know, because they still
So
need that guidance, right?
it's never too late to correct.
That's right.
Never.
That's right.
No matter what, just don't lie to yourself. Yeah, what they say. My daughter used to say when she was maybe 6 years old, Mother, already you are strict. Your tone is very severe. And then we have to grab this look from you. That's hot pepper.
Your daughter sounds like you.
She is. So now I look at her with my granddaughters and I feel like saying, hey, I don't want my granddaughters to have this pepper. But hey, listen, it's, you know, each role that we play in life has different requirements, and we have to, you know, always willing to learn and see how this thing, you know, and make the best of what we learn, apply what we learn, make the best, and experiment, because nothing is finished. You experiment. This did not work for you. You try this one, but you must be willing to test, advance, try, and start again. Correct and start again.
And don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Absolutely not.
That's what faith is, you know.
That's our best friend for growth.
Mm-hmm.
Only those who think they've never made a mistake in their lives, well, these are dead before death arrives.
Yes, that's right. That's right. That's right.
We make mistakes all the time, so we have to learn from them. That's the key.
You know, Kwame Nkrumah said, a man who has never made a mistake, and I'll add the word woman in there, but a man or woman who's never made a mistake has never done anything.
Sure.
So that's something you have to keep that in mind, right?
Yes.
And sometimes you learn from the mistakes. I remember at one time my wife was taking a drumming class years ago, and the master drummer said the people who really advance society are the ones who aren't afraid to look like fools. When you talk about music and all those sort of things, and I can even use an example here in the States. When Garvey first came to the States, he was laughed at when he would make his speeches on ladders in Harlem. They would laugh at him, criticize him. He fell off a ladder one time. And to me, true confidence is to be able to face the people who laughed at you time and time again. I'm still learning that, to be honest with you. I haven't quite mastered that one, but that is, but to me, that is something that is true confidence. Confidence isn't, walking with the walk and confidence is you get beat down, you get laughed at, and you're not afraid to show up in that space again.
You get up, dust yourself off, and say, all right, let me do it better.
That's right. That's right.
That's real confidence. It's not that you don't fall. It's that you can pick yourself up after you fall.
True.
So
very true.
All right. Now, you've talked about these African-centered school in a certain way. And obviously, you're someone who's interested in the things we're interested in. What would you say is a book that you mentioned that Malcolm's bio affected you, but today, if you were going to recommend a book to our audience, what would it be? Just one.
Ooh, there's so many. There are so many. The first one off the top of my head would be Blueprint for Black Power by Amos Wilson. That kind of pulls together the Malcolms and the Garveys and puts it in a codified form. It's a thick book, thicker than the Bible. You can make that our Bible, right? So that's an excellent book to draw from. The other book, and it's more of a pamphlet than a book, is Course on African Philosophy by Marcus Garvey, because it's a step-by-step course. That's a course that he taught in 1937, or when he returned to North America after he was deported. He came to Canada to teach a course. And that's a step-by-step course on how to be a leader. And I'd almost consider that our version of Sun Tzu's Art of War or Machiavelli's The Prince, because there are a lot of Machiavellian principles in there, for lack of a better term. How to be a diplomat, how to say something in doublespeak to your enemies, things of that nature. So to me, those are two books off the top of my head I would recommend.
Excellent. I hope everybody noted those who haven't, let's take it again. Let's repeat it, please. The first book is?
Yep, Blueprint for Black Power by Dr. Amos Wilson. He's an ancestor now. And again, it's a very thick book. I think it's like 1,000 pages. That'd be the first one I would recommend.
Excellent.
And then go ahead. Somebody
Excellent.
spoke?
Yes, go ahead.
Yep. And then the second one would be Course on African Philosophy by Marcus Garvey. And that's about a 100-page small pamphlet. And those are the two I would recommend.
Excellent. Thank you.
And then I'll recommend a third one. And this is more to understand the European-dominated political system that we're in. And this is called Tragedy and Hope by a professor named Carol Quigley, right? He is the guy who recommended Bill Clinton for the Rhodes Scholarship. And I know we don't like Bill Clinton in space, and I'm one of them due to what he did to Haiti and a lot of other things. However, Carol Quigley had access to the papers of the elite, and he showed basically how the elite controls both sides of the political spectrum and how they've basically taken money out of Africa to fund their think tanks. And it's very clear in that book. So that's another book I would highly suggest that you read. And then if you can find Quigley's lectures on the web, and they're written lectures on the web, where he completely turned against the system before his death in the 70s. And he was even bringing more of their secrets out. And that's very important, because if you read that book, you can get rid of all of the noise and foolishness in the political system. You don't get into this Democrat-Republican stuff. You don't get into this Labor Party versus conservative stuff. You realize they are all on the same team. But you also realize when you read that book, when there are internal civil wars going on between the Europeans that we can't see out in public, but you can tell by the language that is spoken. So that's another important book to get. So those are the three that
All right, would you repeat the third one, please?
It's called Tragedy and Hope by Dr. Carol Quigley. And again, that's a very important book to be, and you will learn the term round table group in that book, and you will learn the term the Cecil Rhodes Trust, because Cecil Rhodes funded all these big think tanks in the United States and the UK, and these think tanks have subjugated our people throughout the world.
And Cecil Rhodes is the guy after whom Rhodesia is named after.
Exactly, and the Rhodes Scholarship.
Yes.
And I think he made a comment that he says we built our empire out of the Kaffir's belly. And Kaffir, everybody knows, is South African term for the N-word. So.
Yep. So remember, if we don't read, we don't know. If we don't know, we really can't make good decisions about how to get to where we want to go. We must read. It's very important. That's how we advance. Excellent. Now, schools, African-centered schools.
Yes.
In a general way, how do you view them?
How do I view them?
Mm-hmm.
I think overall, our experience has been positive. The school that my children were at was very rigorous up until the 4th grade time period. After that, it wasn't as rigorous, and so we had to make some changes. But one, it gives them a sense of pride. Two, it gives them, if the African Center schools are handled correctly, you can integrate the African Center philosophy into all subjects. If it's handled correctly, you just can't teach history as a separate thing and then you go back and talk about, the Pythagorean theorem, which is a contradiction, because the Pythagorean theorem was used to build the pyramids. So if Pythagoras didn't exist when the pyramids were built, why are you calling it the Pythagorean theorem? Right? If you have the Ashanga bone, women were the one who did the Ashanga bone with the, it's like 28 markings on it, and there's evidence of multiplication on there to help track their periods, right? So again, you could say the first mathematicians were women. So again, you have to integrate that in African-centered education. You have to say, when you talk about the soil, you could talk about why is Osar considered in Kemet, you know, one of the netures of the soil. Osar is black, very black. You see the paintings of him, black. Black soil is rich, right? That's the most nutrient-rich soil that you can have. You have to integrate it so it's not something separate and make it practical. So, you know, yeah, we built pyramids in the past, but how can you apply that sort of organization and philosophy to deal with our problems today? The Bombo Bone. Thank you, Jocelyn. Thank you. So those are the sort of things, to me, an effective African-centered education will do. And then also, an effective African-centered education is not afraid to seek competition with other ethnic groups. So, you know, some African-centered academies won't do science, won't say participate in science projects with other ethnic groups because they want to do their own thing. And I had that disagreement one time with somebody about this, and I said, listen, science is not exclusively black. It's not exclusively white. The facts are the facts. You go in there and compete and see what you have from there. And that's how people improve, you know, because other racial groups don't have a heart. They have no shyness about taking ideas that we have and using it for their benefit, or seeing how we do things and competing against that and using it for their benefit. We have to be able to do that too. We can't have a not invented here syndrome for our people. So, I'm a very competitive person, maybe too competitive, but I think as a group, we have to have cooperation internally to compete with others on the outside.
But in order to have that, there needs to be a very strong mental house cleaning. Because if all the references are others, all our belief system is determined by others.
I agree.
All of the schooling is what others felt we should know. Then it puts us in that situation where we always want to defend this other who is in us, and then we are aggressive towards each other. So
I absolutely agree with that, because you have to be comfortable with yourself first before you go out and compete with others. And that's, you have, no baby starts off outside the womb. You spend, the baby spends 9 months in that womb, getting comfortable, getting warm, being nurtured, and then, a great seeming cataclysm happens. The baby, with all this noise and light and rush, goes out into the world, right? To the physical world. Right. So yes, that to me is very true. You have to be able to have that comfort in yourself before you go out to compete with others.
So we do have to get our house cleaning done. It's probably time for us to share some information with our audience. And then after we do this, I will also be sharing, our founder's birthday is coming up. General Jean-Jacques Dessalines, whose birthday is on September 20th. So after we share the information, we'll definitely be talking about what's going to happen. What are you going to do about Dessalines' birthday? I mean, you, all of us. Okay. Franz, you're going to share with us. Oh.
Please subscribe. Starting. Hi. We're waiting on you. We're about to open our Bayyinah Bello official YouTube channel, and we need for you to subscribe. All of you, please subscribe starting now, so you can get all the information on justice, health, education, all wrapped up in our R Street. Subscribe now so we can get going with the work.
I didn't know. I see. Okay, I was waiting for the list that we usually read. Okay. So to keep in touch with, as you know, our purpose in the things that we do is to build Fondation Félicité. So Fondation Marie-Claire Heureuse Félicité Bonheur Dessalines, who is the first Empress of Haiti, free Haiti. And so to keep in touch with the Fondation, you could use this Fondation Félicité on Instagram, official Bayyinah Bello, YouTube, which is coming. As you see, we talked many times about it's coming up, but now it looks like General Kwesi has really pushed things up, and we're getting closer to the opening. So, but it's, you know, I guess you could already subscribe to have first-hand information and contact someone in IT. So Fondation Félicité, 509-2940-0869. We can contact and know what's going on, what the Fondation is doing, what we're up to, and how you can help. Then there's the website, www.fondationfelicite.com. And if to contribute, you have the PayPal, pourfondationfelicite@gmail.com. These are the contact, the way for us to stay in touch with each other, no matter where I am, but the Fondation is functioning. Let me also take the time here to say thank you to Sister Iweola from Florida. She went down with three. We had a special mission. They went down with two other people, and the three of them set up our entire library. The Fondation has something like maybe about 4,000 books, but we did what we could with books and papers and notebooks. Well, the sister came down with a program, and she put everything on by the the barcode. So everything is on the net. I don't know, on the computer. Anyway, they did something that organized. So now we could just, you give us a title or an author, and we could identify what our book is, and you can contact. So she is definitely did a great job. The three of them did a great job putting the Fondation's work one step higher. Thank you very much, Sister Iweola and your team. Thank you. So now, September 20th. Today is September 3rd, if I'm not mistaken. Right. September 3rd. So we have 17 days to make it happen. 17 days to decide how we're going to celebrate our founder. I like to say he is the liberator of Haiti, the liberator of our people, because by his action, all of us, the door opened up for all of us to become free. And among those actions, I will say two things. When Martinique was being put back under slavery, Dessalines sent troops to help Martinique's fight. On the budget of 1805, Dessalines had the fourth line of the budget is money to help those who are fighting for freedom. So with these two actions, we could clearly see that he did not see, oh, IT is free, that's it, the world can continue what they're doing. No, he was clear. And that's why he named IT on his letterhead, Jacques, Emperor First of Haiti, comma, Empire of Freedom. That's what we created in 1804. even though all those who learn in books will talk about the first Black Republic, but the founders did not talk about Republic, and they did not talk about Black Republic. They created empire of freedom. And that tells us a lot more about what was in his mind. So anyway, this great man, born on September 20th, 1758, will be 262 years old. Yes, I say will be 262 years old in 17 days. And all of us have benefited from his actions, from his courage, from his determination, his discipline. And we're counting on each one of you to help us do the best of what we can do for him on that day. We are in contact with you. We're going to send you information by email. You can certainly donate. Some are talking about coming down, those who come down. Oh, one very important thing. If you're coming down, you have to let us know ahead of time, because there might be things we need you to bring for us. We may have, airlines can only take two. I never have, my stuff is always too much when I'm going back there. So if we have it, and if we know who's coming down, then we send you some packages to take down for us. And if you're only coming down with empty suitcase or just something for a weekend, you could bring some stuff. So we'll see all the details later, but keep in mind, Desaline's birthday. We're all gonna make it a great birthday this year, no matter what is going on in Haiti. As I often say, whatever is going on in the Republic, that's their business. We live in the empire. So let's go back to our guest, Brother Piankhi.
Yeah, sorry about the background noise. My neighbor's lawn service came, so I apologize for it, basically.
That's okay. That's okay. We hear you quite well, in fact.
Good.
We're not, that's not affecting the sound.
Good.
Now, 50 years from now, let me ask you, 25. Okay, 25 years from now, how do you see yourself?
Wow, I never really thought of it that way. Jeez, 25 years from now, what I want to see from myself, I want to have two things. I want to have some businesses developed that improves the physical health of our people, can create prosperity for our community. So, you have it creates other Black businesses, so we're economically independent, so we can control the political space that we're in, because it takes economics to control your politicians, unfortunately, in this backwards world, and it takes economics to have stable families. It takes economics to have good shelter. It takes economics to have safety in your neighborhood. The other thing I would like to do is be in a community where we are farming and having some degree of self-sufficiency. One of my hobbies is vegetable gardening, right? So I'm using vegetable gardening as my practice to own a farm one day. And so, and the reason for that is, with this lockdown, we see how easily central power can cut off our access to food and access to clothing and access to a lot of necessities that our grandparents and our great-grandparents used to create collectively themselves. So I think this culture of convenience has put us to sleep. It's become an opiate for us. So I would like to participate in something like that. I also want to be a healer in 25 years. I want to be a successful healer in 25 years. So that means the first person I have to do is I have to heal myself, but I also have to go through my training so I can help spiritually heal our community. And so that's where I want to see myself in 25 years. I want to be a better father, better husband. I want to be a very good grandparent by that time. And so, that's what I see going forward.
Wonderful. Thank you. And as we do the exercise with our guests, I hope everyone is doing the exercise in their mind for themselves. Because if we cannot project ourselves in the future, how can we make a future for ourselves? It is an important exercise. One of the things that I've been thinking about a lot is that the concept of birthday parties, I think we need to really rework it. There are people who, they would ask, for example, at 18, an 18-year-old has to give his plans for the next 5 years in order to celebrate for them, for the family to celebrate that 18-year-old. If you have in your plan, okay, you need to go to college, it will cost this, you need clothing the first year, the second year, the third year, the fourth year, that, for this, for that. So you have your plan and a budget. Then uncles might say, all right, I'll take care of the school books. Someone else might say, I'll take care of your shoes during the first year. Someone else will say, I will take care of this, this, this. So once you, if you can make a budget, look at yourself in the next 5 years and look at your needs, then the necessities, what you need for those years will come to you. But if you yourself, you know, I'm going to college, how? I don't know. Where? I don't know what you're going to study. Well, I've applied for this and that. If wherever they accept me, you leaving yourself out there for anything to happen. So let's begin to practice. Even young children, make the children a month away from the birthday, make them make a plan. Don't have a party for them. Do the budget with them so they see they want to have this. It costs that. They want to have this. Well, if we're going to do this for your birthday, then you're not going to be able to have that. Very early, make children aware that every decision has a cost. The brother just said, economy is in everything. But we come, I don't go to weddings because I think that's just the most la world thing ever. I do not like to go to these things. And if people ask me to talk, what I have to say is not what they want to hear. Okay? Because here we are, the girl may have 2 or 3 children and she is in her pure innocence white dress with a veil, with whatever, you know, all this other nonsense. The guy is dressed up like he's never dressed in his life. Maybe rented some, what they call these things? Gala, whatever, some expensive outfit. They are going to spend money they do not have. And the next day after the party, they may not know what to eat. They may not be able to afford a good meal. So this kind of nonsense, I don't think we should encourage. And that's why, if from very young, we start telling the children, this is what I remember taking my 3 boys to buy new sneakers. And I told everybody it was, you know, everybody's getting new sneakers, $10 each. And my first son said, I want Adidas. Why not? Of course, I know no idea what Adidas is. So when they bring Adidas for my first son, $70. Oh no, that's out of the question. $10 is the limit. Choose a $10. He says, no, mommy, I don't want a $10. I'd rather keep the sneakers I have. I said, well, then fine, keep your sneakers. Down the road, he said, could I have the $10? I said, sure, you know, but it's for your sneakers. Okay. He kept the $10. He started selling newspapers. He made the money, the difference, and he bought himself a pair of Adidas. I have no problem with that. He earned it. But I was not, even if I had the $70, I wasn't buying no $70 because I had 3 boys. I can't buy each one a $70 pair of sneakers. So I'm not going to buy one for somebody. So we have to be real in the way we raised our children. Okay? Birthday parties should not be out here, parents spending $5,000-$6,000 in some child's three-year-old birthday party. Come on. And we have tons of our people who are not eating, not drinking. Let's be for real. So let's take life seriously. And economics is part of life. I'm learning this and very late, believe me. This is one person who wouldn't have spoken that way 10 years ago. But as experience teaches me, I share with you. So always vision, put vision into everything. Let the 10-year-old look at what will you look like when you're 12? What will you be doing? Let's project ourselves into a future created by ourselves. So,
I find that interesting because John Henrik Clarke has a great book called Notes for African World Revolution. Excellent book. In fact, if you want a book on strategy, that's the book to get. And he talks about how in traditional Africa, everything is intentional when it comes to children. Everything is intentional. In fact, the elders will choose a leader based on a child's habits when they're young. Does that child share with their classmates, their peer group? Are they kind? Do they know when to take charge? Do they know how to correct? And they'll see these things and put them into leadership positions. And what you say about weddings is so important because, you know, here in Detroit, you have a large Arab community. And you cannot walk into an Arab wedding without putting down a minimum of $100 into a pot. And because of that, and that money's not for dresses or anything, it's so the couple can buy a house and not be in debt when they buy a house. But yet I see too many of our people that want to spend $10, $20, $30, $40,000 on a wedding. And what are you left with? Once, you know, my mother-in-law would always say, you know, once the money goes out the door, so does the love. And I mean that it's practical. It's because again,
yes.
Because, you know, you have the tension, you have the arguments, you have all those sort of things. So now you've left that couple, or that couple with their own decisions have left themselves in a hole at the beginning of the marriage. And things are nice and easy before the kids come. The easiness goes out the window once the children arrive. So that's an excellent point that you made when it comes to marriage. And the other thing that irritates me is the lavish high school graduation parties. You haven't done nothing when you've left high school. You've done what you're supposed to do. So why are you having a big graduation party for an 18-year-old? You haven't accomplished anything yet. So anyway, that's my little commentary based on what you said.
Right. So you see, when we say you have to question, battery thing. You have to question. We have to question everything we do. We have to question what we say. We have to question what we value. If we are not questioning what we're doing, then we will just be repeating things without thinking and not advancing. Then we're going to complain. We've not gone anywhere. To advance, first there has to be vision. Okay. So you have to imagine where you want, what you want to do, how, you know, maybe nothing in your hand to do it. Doesn't matter. But if the vision is in there, it's never going to happen. So got to set the vision. Then you set the principles, you set the rules, et cetera, et cetera. And if you have an engineering mind, then you know exactly how to establish the process. Okay.
Yes. My favorite word.
So,
one of my favorite words, but my oval sum is kind of mocks me with it. He says I'm too process oriented.
Well, many of us don't have an idea what process is. Would you break down process for us, please? Process
is, and I'm gonna use an analogy. You're looking at a huge mountain that's 25,000 feet high, and you look at the peak. And you say, my God, I have to climb that peak. I will never get there. The process breaks down what it takes to get to that peak. Okay, we have to get We have to have winter clothes because it's going to be very cold up there. We have to have enough food. We have to have proper bedding for the rest. We have to have ropes. We have to have first aid kits since people fall. We might need nets for our less experienced climbers. And then once you gather, so that's the first part of the process. That's the planning of the logistics. The next thing is, where are we going today? I'm not worried about 3 weeks from now when I get to the top. Where are we going today? And so you go from here to, you might only go 100 yards today, but in those 100 yards are a bunch of lessons that'll help you with the next 400 yards tomorrow. And then you have to have an assessment at the end of the day. What did I do right? What did I do wrong? How can we correct what we did wrong so it's smoother as we go along? Or when the greater challenges come, you're more prepared for that. And the purpose of process is that plans always fail. However, the lack of planning is guaranteed that is a guarantee that you will fail. Planning helps you improvise when the unexpected happens. And that to me is what the purpose of process is. There's nothing that's ever the same. Huh? Go ahead.
All right, so we see process, thought process, machine process, all is process. We go through from one stage to reach the goal, whatever stage we start with and heading for the goal. We're not in competition with anyone. Once you set a goal, you just want to get to your goal. Some of us take 25 years to get to whatever. Some people at 25, they're already there. Good for them. But don't say, well, I'm 30 and she's there and I'm not. Did you analyze your process? Did you analyze your goal? Where you heading for? Okay. So take your time, use your vision, use your creativity to have a vision of where you want to go, what you want to do, and then work at it. Don't give up. That's where the determination has to come in. You have to have the courage to start and the determination to keep it up in the most difficult situation.
Yeah, because Mama Toya had a process in training Dessalines.
Absolutely.
Because she saw what was in him and she had to train him. Dessalines had a process. There was times he appeared to join the other side. And I remember what Zilli Danto said, where he said that basically he was going to betray them every time, even though he joined them, right? But
yes,
yes, if you can repeat that saying, because it's such a beautiful phrase.
March 22, 1802, at the fort of Crête-à-Pied, Dessalines said, pay close attention to what I'm going to tell you. Now, open your ears, listen attentively. Even if you see me, even if you see me submit to the French authorities 100 times, know that 100 times 100, I shall betray them. The fight that we are carrying on is the whole universe is going to participate. At some point, nature will bring the rains. Rains will bring yellow fever. The fever will diminish the number of French soldiers in front of us, facing us. Sometimes we'll fight, sometimes we'll hide. But ultimately, we'll come down the mountaintop like a like lightning will come down the mountaintop. We will crush the French army. They will have to give up the land. And I promise you, that day, I will give you independence. That was March 22nd, 1802.
One of the greatest black men to ever live. The greatest planet physically. I wish there were more books in English that I can read about him, to be honest with you, because the books that you see on the Haitian Revolution that are published in English only give you bits and pieces of Dessalines. And
That's true.
and you have to get through their negative comments about Dessalines in order to get to his essence, basically. And I think that there needs to be a comprehensive biography on Dessalines, written
Absolutely.
from a loving perspective and what he's done. Because to me, Dessalines ended slavery in the Western Hemisphere when he offered, and I forget what the term was it $50 a head for every slave ship?
We're gonna get that in English.
Yes.
What Franz just said.
Go ahead. Yeah. So basically, he offered $50 a head for every slave ship that came to Haiti, and that scared the British so much that they had to end the transport of Africans from Africa over to the Western Hemisphere, because they knew that what they would call saltwater Negroes, that was their term, were fomented the most revolts. So it frightened them. Dessalines making that policy statement ended slavery in the Western Hemisphere because it made slavery more expensive for everybody involved.
Very true. Yes, indeed. Now, this is a man who, my goodness, since we're talking about him, maybe we will close with this segment with this anecdote about him. About a week after we declared independence, so January 8th, General Milton of England came by and asked audience with Dessalines. Dessalines said, "Tell him to stay on his boat, I'm coming." And people were kind of shocked. Here you have a guest who want to maybe congratulate you, blah, blah, blah. And, so stay on your boat, I'm coming. So he went on his boat to talk to him. And Maitland went on about, what you did is wonderful. That's great. I congratulate you. And the British Army is ready to protect your independence for you, to secure your independence. Every time he said that, Dessalines talked about the sun, the moon, the stars, whatever, anything. So he would repeat it, we're there, we're ready to protect your independence. And then in the end, Dessalines, okay, I'm going. He said, "But you didn't answer to my offer to protect your independence." He says, "General, I give you 24 hours to remove your entire flotilla from my sea. Know that if I didn't know how to protect my independence, then I would not have my independence. Good day."
That's a man.
That's it.
Yeah, that's a man.
Yeah. So, and I'm sure the British are not the only ones who offered to protect your independence. And then if I need to be protected, then I don't need no independence.
And Ma Bayyinah, I want to add one thing to you said to Dessalines' March 22nd, 1802 speech. Guess what? The rains are coming back. They started again. And if people understood, and I'm not just saying figuratively, I'm saying literally, our season has started again. The sun is now in its cycle where the rains have come back to benefit us.
Yes.
So people have to start studying that.
That's right. And that's why it's so important for us to go to put in our communal mind. We have to be about planning and plotting our tomorrows. There is no ifs and buts about it. We have to. Everyone, if you're alone, start alone. But whenever the opportunity shows up, join in.
That's right.
Don't look at people's faces. Don't listen to the voice you like or dislike. Just look at what the mission. And can you contribute to advancing that mission? Don't say, "Yeah, I agree with your mission, but if the mission is what's important, that's what will take us anywhere. It's the mission." Okay. So that's what we have to concentrate on. Well, already I was late, for which I apologize again. And the second thing is that I had a hard time getting on. Today, the Zoom just didn't want to work for me. but we're here, and now we're going to go on to opening up the floor for our audience to have the opportunity. That's another thing we really dislike. We usually here, we like to have to share it half and half. An hour for the guest, an hour with the audience expressing themselves. It's important, and it's about justice. It's about being fair. And that's why we, I do apologize because we're starting kind of late with opening up to the audience.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much, Brother Kwame. Thanks for the great information. Thanks for sharing your journey and your knowledge with everyone. Appreciate you very much. And for everyone, now we are in our Q&A session. So for those who have any questions for Brother Kwame or for Professor Bello, please raise your hand. The raise hand icon should be on your phone or on your laptop. And once you raise your hand, then you can, I can choose you to ask the question. So let's go ahead and we will start with our first question from Obia.
He's a good friend of mine. So Obia is a good friend of mine. And I have another friend in here, Quia Maat. We went to Africa together, so I want to acknowledge her too. So,
Greetings, family, greetings. I'm not putting my video on today because I'm sat here in the dark. It's about to thunder, and I'm just taking in the whole scenery around me as I listen to you both. So greetings to all of you. Brother Kwame, it's lovely to hear your voice and to hear you sharing with Mama Bello. There's so much things I can ask you because, you're one person who has taught me so much.
And likewise you to me, Jacoby. It's not a one-way street, trust me.
Thank you. I really do put you up there with some of our best scholars. Looking at what our people are going through, you're someone who has studied history profoundly. Looking at what our people are going through, what we've gone through, this whole COVID situation, and the next minute we ended up in this sort of a so-called world movement with Black Lives Matter. And now we've come out of that. They say we're about to go into a second pandemic. And after that, they're hoping to vaccinate us. What is your assessment and analysis of all of this? And what should our global response as Africans be? And then the second question is, do you think some of us should begin to leave the West and head to Africa?
All right. Yeah, the first response, and if you want to finish the question, go ahead. Your second part of the question.
No,
I didn't interrupt.
That's it. Thank you.
Okay.
That's it. Thank you.
Well, the first response to the COVID thing, I'm going to go backwards. Is a critique, is a lack of community preparedness, and I say this to the extent that one is our health issues can only be solved collectively by us. And I have a good friend of mine who's a professor at Howard, and she always said that white people may be culpable for our position, but we are responsible to get ourselves out of the position. And one of my criticisms right now is of the Black church. If the Black churches formed nonprofit cooperatives, they could have created stores that bring healthy food into our community. They should have had workshops so we're not suffering from the high blood pressure and all the ills, because the food primarily that's sold in our community is dead food with the high fructose corn syrup, with the white sugar, with the white flour, with the trans fats, with all these sort of things. So it has led us to this point. The other thing I think we have to start doing is turn the television off, because the television, if you're watching the CNNs or the Foxes or the BBCs or the MSNBCs or wherever you are, their purpose is to dumb you down. And unfortunately, we as a people watch more television than any other group. And television inhibits your ability to think critically. when this crisis started, I read, this is back in March, I read the reports out of China coming in February, and they said clearly it was people with comorbidities. China made their mistakes in February. They started giving people anti-AIDS drugs, and that was a big trigger for me, because the anti-RNA drugs, which they used during the AIDS crisis, wound up killing people, because RNA is your messenger between your cells. And so when I first read that, I said, uh-oh, our folks better not go to the hospital, or we are not coming out, right? And then, so I try to tell my family and friends around me, I say basically, hey, listen, you know, don't go to the hospital. This is what you need to take. These are the herbs you need to take. These are the foods you need to get off of, so on and so forth, because this thing is coming. It won't be a big deal if you follow these things. And one of my side hobbies is doing herbal stuff. One of my grandmothers was a bush doctor. I learned from her, and that kind of just jumped off into things after that. So we have to learn the lesson now that we have to collectively take care of our health. And that means owning our grocery stores like we used to, ensuring that we have Black farmers supplying us. And it's not going to be exclusively Black farmers supplying our stores, but we need to build a base of Black farmers wherever we are. People need to start gardening. Even if you live in an apartment, you can buy a garden box to put in your home to grow your lettuce, so you're not having to buy lettuce, right? Getting your hands in the dirt is one of the most therapeutic things that you can do. In terms of the coming vaccine, the vaccine is an RNA vaccine. You see me using RNA again? They're trying to alter your RNA with electronic charges, and to me, that means you're genetically modifying you as a human being. If you have if they're offering a COVID vaccine, run far away from it. Far, far away. If you want to use a biblical term, that's the mark of the beast. Run far away from it. And to Black Lives Matter, my opinion might offend some people in here. Black Lives Matter is not an indigenous movement. It's funded by outsiders. Even the term Black Lives Matter means you're appealing to somebody else, right? Yeah, of course, you should know your life matters already. How come you have to tell somebody your life matters, right? What I have to say is our way forward is, again, developing our economy, reintroducing ourselves to our culture, because culture protects your economy. Culture gives you a mission, right? The other thing is we have to protect our own communities from enemies, both external and internal. And so I'm a firm believer in Gil Scott-Heron's song, "The Revolution Will Not Be Televised." And we have to take that very seriously. The person getting on top of in front of the camera is not necessarily your leader. And then the second question, yes, we should move, a bunch of us should move to Africa. And I made that little comment about the rains are coming, right? One, the West has gotten unbearable for a lot of us. Two, Africa is about to have a major agricultural renaissance because the rains have come back. Have you seen the floods in Sudan? You've seen the floods in Niger. You've seen what's going on in Mali. We are in a dispensation as it was before Kemet was created, when that whole area was lush. So it would make a lot of sense for some of us to go back to Africa if we can contribute. If you're just there to take a vacation, just stay where you are. And that's what I would say.
Thank
Did I answer your question, Jacoby, adequately?
Yes, you did. Thank you
Okay.
very much. Very much. Thank you very, very much. And are you saying we shouldn't trust the Black Lives Matter leaders?
No, I'm absolutely saying that. You can't trust them, because they're getting money from billionaires, and they're becoming millionaires as a result of getting money from billionaires. And this is not about our ultimate liberation. And if you read their manifesto for 4 years ago, the Black man is not included in their idea for liberation. It's very clear about that. that they want a new sort of Black family where the Black man is not included.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's the same program as 40 Acres and a Mule.
Sorry?
Yes.
The same
Go
program.
ahead. Yeah.
40 Acres and a Mule. The mule does not reproduce itself. So
Right.
a family without a man.
Wow. Okay.
Wow,
I didn't
that's
realize.
deep.
Thank you. I
That
didn't
is
realize
deep.
that. Wow.
That's very deep.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Ankobia, for the question. Thank you for that answer, Brother Kwame. I agree with you 100% on everything you just said. So, all right, let's go to the next question from Chris. Chris, you can go ahead, unmute yourself, ask a question, please.
Greetings, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here.
Hi, Chris.
Can I be heard?
Speak
Yes,
a
I can
little
hear you.
louder, please.
Do you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. It's a pleasure to be surrounded by Mama Bayyinah Bello, as well as friends, as well as the guest speaker as well. I'm really thankful for all that you have done. I'm right now here in Chicago, and I was born in Boston. I'm Haitian nonetheless, and I'm really thankful for the work that you have done while you was in Detroit. My question I had forgotten because I was in the midst of multitasking, so I'll make sure to stay present. But thank you so much for all the books that you had referred. I made sure to write down notes. And I just want to encourage everybody who are, whatever your talents are, to stay encouraged. Keep on doing the work that you were given, whatever mission or assignment is. Today is the third year of my business. Second to last, I remember Bayyinah mentioning 3 birthdays that everybody has. Their birthday when they were born, the day that they had accepted their mission, and the third one, I would have to go back into my notes in order to review. And today I was actually feeling a little foggy-ish until Facebook reminded me, hey, it's your birthday. I'm like, no, it's not. I'm like, wait, it's the birthday of when I had started the business. And I had launched that off with having to create a shirt for 2017 around the release of the movie called 1804, which I'm actually wearing, about the revolution of Haiti. And I made sure to give it to Wyclef. And it was a miracle how that even happened. Just stay encouraged, everyone, and all of your victories, whether they be small or grand, they're all victories. So I have no questions, just encouragement, and thank you all so much for this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
I'm open to suggestions.
Thank you.
Yeah, I lived on the South Side for years. So Chicago, back in the 90s, that was one of my favorite places, basically. So, yeah. Yeah,
I love Chicago, but I will not be back in Chicago in the winter. I learned that the hard way.
The Hawk.
Yes.
The Hawk, yes. Coming off that lake.
Thank you, Chris. And I believe the 3 birthdays is the day you were born, the day that you find out what your mission is, and the day that you
accepted your mission.
Accept your mission, yes.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. All right, let's go on to the next one. We have about 10 minutes left. So it's the lightning round. Okay, quick questions and quick answers. Okay, so Melissa is next. Go ahead, unmute, ask a question, please.
Hey, hello. Peace and blessings to all. Peace and blessings, Franz. Hello, hope all is well with you. To my Bello, hello. Nice
How
to see
are you?
again. Yes, I'm doing well. Blessed and highly favored. I feel good. And peace and blessings to you, Brother Kwame. It's great to meet you, great to know you, and to hear your story is very, very inspiring. I'm Melissa.
Hi, Melissa.
Yes, how you doing? And I just want to say that I'm very moved by everything that you said. I'm actually this past weekend I officially became a certified master Reiki therapist.
Wow. Wow, congratulations. You know, I had a Reiki therapist years ago when we had a lot of deaths in the family, and I find that work is so healing. It was so healing. It's carrying me to this day. So, and you're going to grow quite a bit from it, Melissa. You really are. You're going to grow from learning about the people you're doing the healing work. But as I said, I mean, there was a period where I lost 12 relatives and friends in a 3-year period. Right. And so that was very helpful during that process. So I really congratulate you in doing that and
I
pursuing
appreciate
this.
that. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. No, it's been a journey. I've been healing myself and learning how to heal others, and it's just been a whole journey. And I live in Flatbush, Brooklyn, but I'm originally I was born in Barbados, and my family's Guyanese though. So you know, just from the islands and stuff. I've grown up in a Christian household, but I've been finding myself through African spirituality. And I want to ask you, with everything that you spoke about African-centered schools and things like that, and especially with the COVID, with the COVID situation that's going on here. At this point in time, for Reiki therapists, how do you see things? Do you see kind of like energy healers, kind of energy healing taking over, like creating this whole new shift that's coming on? Or
yeah, I mean, definitely. And in fact, I want to take back this COVID thing. The powers that be who instituted this COVID situation were trying to control the world they're losing control of. What they didn't realize is that by implementing a lot of the measures that they did, they've lost control of their world. And this is the beginning of a new world. And we're back to the world of energy. We're back to the world, because we are energy. This skin that I'm pulling is slowed down molecules and atoms and all that, but ultimately you're energy. So the energy healing is where we are going, right? So this is the beginning of it. And I'm going to take something in the physical realm, but let's take in the physical realm. Who moved those? How did those big multi-ton blocks move to build the pyramids? How is that done? Helicopters can't do it today. Cranes can't do it today. There's no machinery that can do it today. The big tekenu, they're called obelisk in English, but tekenu means resurrection. How are they moved? These things were weighed 1,200 tons. So yes, energy is where we're going back to. And I'm saying this to myself, we have to believe. We have to believe. The thing we have lost is belief in ourselves. The other thing is that I think we have fallen too prey to the material aspects of life, whereas we're not seeing all aspects of life. And again, I'm saying this to myself too, right? So yes, you are on the right path for that. The energy healing is something that's really going to be needed, because we need to heal from our enslavement. Even though it's a brief period in our history, it's a damaging period. So I really, I think this is a very important thing that you have. And a lot of people are being psychologically damaged during this whole COVID lockdown. Suicides have gone through the roof. Families are splitting apart. Child abuse has gone way up, right? So the healing is going to be necessary for those of us who survive this period. So you're on the right path for sure. And just have no fear going forward. You might have doubts, but ignore them.
No, I much appreciate it. I appreciate those words. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, you're on the right path. I mean, for me to say it, but you know in your heart whether you're in the right path. So that's the biggest thing.
Awesome. Congratulations, Melissa. Keep on going. Go as far as you can. All right. Next question is from Wahid. Brother Wahid. Go ahead, unmute yourself and ask a question, please.
Brother Wahid and Sister Faye.
I can't forget about Sister Faye.
Yes. Can you hear me?
I know she's there.
Can you hear me?
Hear.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Just me
I see you now. I see you now.
Yes, Wahid is busy, and I'm just here by myself today. Not by myself, but he's not on the computer. But anyway, I want to, before I ask my question, I'm honored to be around and communicating with like-minded Black people. It's fortifying for me. My question is about the divinity of human beings. Ma Bello, could you speak to how we can identify and recognize and express our divinity?
Well, it's a very big and wide question, but let's try to see if the shortest answer possible for now. We are energy, as our brother just said, Brother Piankhi said. Okay, we're energy. This is the outfit. We wear an outfit of bones, blood, skin, flesh, but the real Faye, I don't see her. I see the outfit that she's wearing. And so the energy is moved by spirit. And the higher spirit is the oneness. Okay, so when we talk about the divine, we talk about the oneness, but that oneness has the ability to be in each element. Every living element has a spark of the oneness in ourselves. The water has it, sun has it, people have it. And that oneness in Vodun, we have two different expressions. There is the oneness that we call Tibonzange. There is another one we call Gobonzange. The Tibonzange determines our characteristics, what kind of people we are, what kind of temperament or competence that we have, that we own, which also determine our mission. When you take somebody like Toussaint Louverture, even his name already told you, if we understood the names he carried in slavery, then when he became free, he named himself Toussaint Louverture. Toussaint, the one who has the power of all the saints. Saints are like principles for action. And Louverture in order to open the way. So he only came to open the way for freedom. So people were saying, oh, Toussaint, if Toussaint had, if this, if that, that was not his mission. His mission, his name tell you, I'm here to open up. L'ouverture, the opener. So he came, he did his opening and stepped out the way. And Dessalines, whose spirit is Ogu Ferai, this is the one who takes you, once you have an objective clear, takes you to the objective victoriously. And him too, we cannot cry that but they killed him too soon, blah, blah, blah. No, his mission was accomplished on January 1st, 1804. He was killed October 17, 1806. So he gave you a whole bunch of added stuff after he accomplished his mission. So as we learn, that's why you need to know yourself. As you learn to know yourself, you start to recognize who is operating in there. See? You see, you are somebody who, when you put France and Bayyinah together, they did Bayyinah in France. When you put so-and-so and so-and-so, they did a business. Don't be jealous. Say, oh, I made them, I presented them one to the other. You are an opener. So everywhere you go, you put 2 people, 3 people together, something happens among those 3 people and you're not in it. Because that's not your role. Your role is to open the way for things to happen. Okay? If you see Bayyinah has a major problem, she can't figure out how to get out of it, you come in, she talks to you, and you say, oh, but that's simple. If you just did this, that. So you are a solution person, so you're somebody who takes people to where they need to go. You are an Ogu force, okay? Transforming force. So A, we need to know ourselves. B, we need to know the different, how to understand the spirit. Don't take spirit as, something is coming in the air. No, you are spirit. Spirit is in you, but spirits communicate with each other. So the more I understand the spirit in me, I can communicate with first the one that's in me, and then my spirit will communicate to the cosmos. That's where the oneness. That's why I can't be afraid of rain. I can't be afraid of sun or the sea or the river. Those are parts of me. I remember Dessalines after independence, when they chose him to be the leader, our first leader. He said, "Oh boy, I'm too old. You're choosing me now. So now I'm gonna have to walk bare feet on the land, so the land will tell me where to place our capital city." The capital city is like the what you call where the baby is, the feet, not fetus, the what holds the baby in the womb.
Uterus.
Huh?
Uterus.
The uterus. Okay, yeah. It's like the uterus. The capital city is like the uterus of the nation. So it cannot be placed at sea where anybody can come in and bomb you. So I'm gonna walk on the land, let the land tell me where our capital city should be. Walk bare feet. So here's the man whose name, number one in the country, takes off his shoes, takes off his boots, takes off his socks, and walk so the land will let him know where to place the capital city. And that capital city today is a town called Dessalines in the heart of the country, surrounded by mountains. But in 2 years, he built 7 fortresses on the mountain tops. So that city there was no way anybody could attack that city. So that is the spirit of this man, is the spirit of transformation, the spirit of reaching the goal and coming to victory. And that's what he did. So as you observe the different things you do in your life, you will start identifying who is there. And that's part of learning to know yourself. You're welcome.
All right, fantastic. Thank you, Sister Faye, for the question.
Took me 2 weeks to get that.
All with the answer. All right, we have 2 more questions. Next question is from Adwoa.
Adwoa. Greetings. Thank you, everyone on this platform. I appreciate the emphasis on collective work. Are there any rites of passage programs that you would recommend for children?
Adwoa, if you can put your email up, I'll send you that information. Then I can give you what I recommended. I can also I developed part of the curriculum for the rites of passage that I was involved in, and I have to go find the curriculum in my files, and then I'll send part of that curriculum to you. But part of it is history. Part of it is children have to spend time out in nature, one, gardening, but also doing some sort of camping. Being in the dark in nature, to me, is a very important part of any human being's development, because you're dealing with one thing. You're dealing with the dark, you're dealing with the dew coming down, you're dealing with the fear of what's in the dark, and how do you relax with that too. And so that is one of the other things. And then one thing I would add, depending how old the child is that there needs to be a scenario where like I think among the Ashanti, like during their rites of passage, they'll stick a young lady into a home of some parents who are raising a boy, and they'll stick a young man in a home with some parents who are raising women. So they know how to deal with an in-law. Even though they're not dating, they need to be able to deal with the whole concept of how do you work with this different couple that might have slightly different ways of doing things than my parents. But again, I have to do the research on that. So if you post your email, I will send you some information as soon as possible.
Thank you so much.
All right.
And rites of passage is ongoing. I mean, you started at 6, you repeated at 7, you repeated it, all the way till 13, 14. I mean, it's not a one-time shot, if you ask me.
All right, fantastic. It looks like a couple of other people are requesting the information. So, Brother Kwame, if you want to send it to me, I could distribute it amongst everybody.
Okay, I'll do that. For sure.
All right, awesome. All right, last question of the afternoon goes to Reginald. Reginald, go ahead, unmute yourself and ask a question, please.
All right. Hey, greetings, everybody. Glad to be here. Hey, I'm a filmmaker and a storyteller. And my mission in life is to tell stories that help people out. And I know the power of storytelling is like one of the best ways for people to reference themselves and go through a journey of discovering something about themselves. And I'm wondering, in your opinion, what are the stories that are most important for our community right now?
It's funny you say you're a filmmaker. My oldest son is studying film. So it's funny that that's what you're into too. I mean, he's really passionate about it. I think we need to have the emphasis on us before slavery, you know, and, you know, you saw the movie Black Panther, and they created this fictional land of Wakanda and all that sort of stuff. Those weren't fictional lands before slavery. So we need to have some films that explore how our people interacted during those time periods, pre-colonialism and pre-slavery. And also, to me, within those films, you're showing human beings, even with their imperfections, because sometimes we have this idealized version of what the ancient times were. But no, show them having disagreements and arguments, but yet they complete the missions that they set out to do, even with their little petty disagreements, right? The slavery movies need to emphasize the revolt part of slavery. They need to emphasize the planning. They need to emphasize the role of African
discipline and organization that we put.
Yes. And African spirituality in it, because no successful slave revolt occurred without an African spiritual base. Haiti was the most successful revolution in the world, and because of that African spiritual base. So that needs to be emphasized. I also think there needs to be an emphasis on what our folks did in the 20th century. The planning organizations, the UNIA, there's so many. The early Nation of Islam, you know, Malcolm X's family is a story in and of itself. What was his family like before he became famous? Because that family was a model African family. And there's an excellent book you could take called Ghost in Our Blood, if you want to study how his family operated. And then with your creativity, you can fill in the blanks and create a story out of that. His mother especially is a hero, because his mother is painted as a weakling, a woman who just went crazy, but she was one of the secretaries for UNIA. She submitted the articles to the Negro world. Her cousin was Garvey's head of security. She was a very strong woman. And because she was sent to the insane asylum for two reasons. One, the state wanted the family's farmland. Two, she didn't eat because she was feeding her children after their father was murdered. So she fed those 7 miles and denied herself the food. And if you don't have proper nutrition, your brain does funny things. And so those are just some little points in the row. And then point to a future of us, a future where we are running things, and we are in control of things, and we are outsmarting people as opposed to constantly being outsmarted, right? And so, because we have to project a positive future for our people.
Absolutely. There isn't a word I would change.
And if you're saying that, that means I'm on the right path.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you. Is that Reginald? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Reginald.
Yeah, continue on your storytelling path, man. It's very important work. You know, especially there's so many images that you have to fight, to correct out there that give, bad images of us projected throughout the world. So any image, any imprint you can make is very important because you don't know who's seeing it. So great work. All right.
Thank you.
And I like that, Brother Kwame, about project us in the future. You know, like that's something that we don't really see a lot. Like, what does it look like post oppression? Like, look like when, you know, us as an
20 years, 50 years, 100 years from now.
That's right. 25 years from now, 50 years from now, where we defeat oppression, we defeat tyranny, and now we're working on freedom and staying free. You know, that's an important story. That's definitely an image that I would like to see out there for sure.
And you know, Brother Franz, there was a book written in the 1920s called Black Empire that projected that. The irony of the book, the writer of the book wrote that book to mock Garvey because he was part of the anti-Garvey crowd. But he wrote this book called Black Empire, which projected us, you know, having our air forces, having control of things, all that sort of stuff. And then there's a brother out of Atlanta named Milton Davis. And if you look him up,
actually, I'm in Atlanta.
Oh, you are? Yes.
Yeah.
If you look up his website, he's written a bunch of books, fictional books, and it's called Steampunk. So he's kind of reorganizing the past, where you have a Haitian empire that wasn't reinvaded, that is kind of the pivot point of North America. You have a Southern Black empire in America. You have also a white country in America, but it shows you all this grand inventions, these dirigible balloons that they invent, these futuristic weapons, even though it's in the 1800s. If you read his book, he has a lot of books from that, and I love his books because it takes my mind to another place where we are winning. Not to say there aren't challenges in the books. There are severe challenges in these books, but to me, if you look him up, his name is Milton Davis, and I think his publishing company is called MV Media or something like that. So, I mean, to me, that is something I would very much get into. And there's also an anthology named Steampunk, where there's a whole bunch of different stories. Some are great, some are not so good, but I would say two-thirds of the stories are very good in that book.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for sharing that.
My
mind working now. You know, my mind.
Yep.
Yeah, I also like
there
that
you go.
Octavia Butler has some
that
stuff.
dropped a seed for you, Franz. So because you have the publishing company, so that's what the seed is for.
Absolutely. Thank you, brother. All right, so that brings us to the close of our Q&A session. Thank you for everyone. Thank you to everyone for participating and asking your question. And we can go ahead and probably close out the show. Thank you so much, Brother Kwame, man. You were great. Thank you for everything. Thank you for sharing. It's good to know you. We'll definitely be in touch for sure.
Yes.
And so that we could work on some stuff together as well.
And I look forward to it. And thank you for inviting me into our space. I appreciate it. I mean, this has been a growing opportunity for me too. I've learned quite a bit. So
yeah, thank you for sharing your time. And I'll give the last word to Professor Bayyinah Bello.
Thank you, Franz. Thank you very, very, very much, Brother Kwame Piankhi. Already I see so many people here saying, invite him back. So definitely we'll do that. And it's his space anyway. So we'll definitely, be together here again. Thank you, all of you who were with us one more time. Thank you for all the energy, the positive energy. I have to say that today I wasn't in top shape because a very good friend of mine was killed last night.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
So I wasn't sure how, would handle it. Usually I handle it good. I know it's part of life. Death is part of life, but it's sometimes the way it's done, it's, the kind of stuff, it shakes something in you. So I'm glad to see we live and learn. I wasn't sure about myself at all today. I called Franz and told him, hey, if you see me, failing, you back me up. So I'm glad to see we went through it, and I appreciate all of you, all your presence, all your energy. And remember, the most important thing for us is to learn to be ourselves, all the way to our divine self. Once we just touch that divinity in us, we become invincible. That's the reality. as they are dragging us out here, we're looking for everything everywhere instead of going in and recuperating, reclaiming our own self and reclaiming our divine self. And that's part of why they do all they do, because they don't want us to reach that point. So please, please take the time, breathe several times a day. Remember, before you put on that mask, after you take it off, if you have to, do deep breathing. Do use eucalyptus oil in the mask when you have to wear it. Put it in. It will help your lungs survive, fight off. But more than anything, go inside yourself. Touch the real you and be who you truly are. We can erase pretty short time. All we have to do is go in and become ourselves again. Be blessed, be protected. Till next time. Thank you very much for everything.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, thank you. That concludes another session of Bayyinah and Friends. Thank you, everyone, once again for logging on today. And look out for the recording later on this evening. Thank you, Brother Kwame, once again. Thank you, Professor Bayyinah Bello. We love you. Our hearts are with you. Our minds are with you during this time. And, you know, we're here anytime you need us. So, all right, everybody. Thank you. And thanks again. We'll see you next week on another session of Bayyinah and Friends. So have a great weekend. Peace.
Peace.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Peace to all. Many blessings.
Hotep, peace, blessings, safety.
Thank you.
Joy.
Thank you.
Love y'all.
Thank you. Have a blessed evening.
All right. Much love, everyone. See y'all next week.
See you next week.
Take good care.
All right.